So this is what the west side of the Capitol looks like. Mr. Speaker, thank you. Thank you to the senators who came over. After months of saying he would not, President Biden now has done what we all knew he would do: sit down and negotiate with Speaker McCarthy and the representatives of the people. This is not surprising because Americans saw Republicans pass a common sense, responsible fiscal path forward for America and realized that the only person talking about default is President Biden. Now the president says we must trade away all but perhaps the most basic of reforms that we passed in the bill. But throughout his posturing, the president has failed to realize the most fundamental and important truth: that the core of this debate is not whether the federal government will default on its debt. It won't. But whether we will continue to allow this nation to default on the American dream. The truth is, the dream is out of reach for too many Americans. And the biggest obstacle is the very government entrusted to protect it. So we gather here today on a bicameral basis to send a message to the president. This legislation is purposeful, not political. We stand for the hardworking American family unable to afford groceries, gas, housing, or health care because of inflation fueled by trillions of dollars in reckless spending. The plumber that never took out a student loan but is now being forced to pay for his neighbor's master's degree, or the veteran paying for a liberal arts major to get the same student loan benefits he earned by risking his life for his country. The nurse who wants to save lives without a federal bureaucrat saying she has to take a needle. The blue-collar workers watching their way of life sacrificed to the altar of climate fetish, while billions of tax dollars of corporate tax credits go to crony subsidies in the so-called Inflation Reduction Act. The rancher in Texas putting diesel in his truck but forced to subsidize a tech worker making six figures to buy a Tesla hundreds of miles away. Minority and poor taxpayers trying to make ends meet that an expanded IRS audits 3 to 5 times more than other Americans. We're standing up for the Americans who simply want their country back. And all they ask is that we stop recklessly spending money we do not have, racking up debt, weakening the dollar, driving up inflation, all to fund the very bureaucracy weaponized against their way of life, as we saw yesterday unfold regarding the FBI. We passed the Limit, Save, Grow Act to do just that, to shrink Washington and grow America. We did our job. Now it's time for the president to do his. Mr. Speaker.
Well done, Jim.
Greetings, friends. So this is not good. Many state lawmakers are expected to see state spending outpace revenues. Experts predict that this will affect state inflation relief payments as well as extra SNAP benefit allotments. This situation may also be affected by the rising federal interest rates. My dearest friends, I'll be going over how this could affect you. So please make sure that you do stay tuned until the end of this video. Also, tomorrow, I will be announcing several winners for the $75 Walmart gift card giveaway. If you'd like to enter these weekly giveaways, simply click and like several of my videos and then comment below the keyword of each video that you watch. My friends, the more videos that you watch and then comment on, the greater your chances of winning the weekly giveaways. United States central bankers have signaled that they see interest rates staying high, and if anything, increasing even higher. Given that inflation that may be slow to improve and an economy showing only tentative signs of weakness. In recent interviews, 4 regional U.S. central bank presidents began disentangling the data and the risks that will feed into a decision in June about whether to raise interest rates for an 11th consecutive time or pause the tightening cycle. Investors are betting heavily that the Fed's benchmark overnight interest rate will remain in the 5% to 5.25% range, which was set in May, when policymakers opened the door to calling a halt to further increases in borrowing costs. Data since the last meeting showed a continued strong job market and little progress on the inflation front, even as risks from ongoing banking sector stress and possible U.S. debt limit crisis argue for caution. Overall, policymakers said ensuring inflation returns to the Fed's 2% annual target remains the top priority. Improvement has been slow so far, while the labor market has merely gone from red hot to hot, with a historically low 3.4% unemployment rate. More recently, the failure of 3 regional banks has raised the risk of broader financial stress and prompted caution among some officials. Atlanta Fed President Raphael Bostic said that at this point he was inclined to pause further rate increases to be clear as to what impact tighter credit is having, with the weight of the central bank's policy changes over the last year still not fully felt. The main inflation indexes have dropped substantially since last year, when consumer prices at one point were increasing by 9% annually. Yet, depending on the measure, inflation remains at least double the Fed's target. Investors have consistently bet that the central bank, due to some combination of a recession or a faster than expected drop in inflation, will be cutting rates by later this year. But policymakers insist that that's unlikely. So, dear friends, how do you think that our government should handle inflation? Please let me know in the comments section below. The crisis played a huge role in boosting state budget surpluses throughout last year. But as of right now, some states are facing budget deficits. California's estimated budget deficit has grown by $9 billion since January, though Governor Gavin Newsom downplayed the severity of its potential impact on critical government services and programs. During a press conference, Governor Gavin Newsom unveiled a revised spending plan that will rely on some additional fiscal maneuvers, including shifting funding sources and internal borrowing, to address a projected $31.5 billion gap in the 2023 to 2024 state budget. Newsom proposes to close a deficit by shifting an additional $3.3 billion in existing commitments out of the general fund, including pulling back another $1 billion in unused money from programs, such as the middle-class tax refunds and utility bill support for low-income residents. Governor Newsom called it a modest shortfall and proposed to delay billions of dollars in spending commitments, reverse recent steps to shore up the state's fiscal health, and shift around funding sources to limit program cuts. Monthly tax revenues came in billions of dollars before forecasts this spring, and fears of a recession continue to loom, which Newsom said could reduce state revenues by tens of billions of dollars, even in the mildest scenario. Adding to the unpredictability, most Californians do not have to file their income taxes until October because of the intense damage and disruption from winter storms. Officials say that $42 billion in payments will be delayed until the new deadline. And last month, Senate Democrats pitched increasing taxes on large corporations and suspending a major business tax credit to raise new funds. It is an idea that Governor Newsom quickly rejected. Analysts have predicted that other states, including Illinois and Massachusetts, may see state spending outpace revenues as well. Well, my marvelous and most awesome friends, that is the end of my daily stimulus update video for this morning. Thank you, dear friends, for joining me here and for being part of this community. To say thank you and to show my appreciation, I will be announcing several winners tomorrow for the Walmart gift card giveaway. If you'd like to enter the giveaway, friends, all you have to do is click and like several of my videos and then comment below the keyword of each video that you watch. The more videos that you watch and then comment on, the greater your chances, my friends, of winning the giveaways. Thank you and have a wonderful and very blessed Thursday.